good evening, and welcome to the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. Guys, I'm your host, Bill Casey Lars. You guys know how we do. We don't waste your time with cookie cutter questions and asking people same old stuff and just putting you to sleep, quite frankly. So, guys, we have with us today a very interesting guest. Not only do we have with us Miss Camisha Williams, who is a grief and loss advocate, she's a speaker, she's an author, she's originally from Miami, Florida, with a 27-year career in the federal government. Camisha's experiences span across various states, including Louisiana, California, Northern Virginia, and now Missouri. Quite more explicably, Kansas City, Missouri. And we won't get into that right now. I don't want to talk to Ms. Williams about maybe and I may talk to her about that later, guys. But right now, we know the wounds are still fresh. If you were a Kansas City Chief, but where she lives with her family. She's a Grambling State University alumna, Grambling Tiger. She has a deep passion for travel, music, and making a meaningful impact in the lives of children. Now, Camisha has dedicated much of her career to children's ministry and the STEM program in aviation, inspiring young minds to explore new possibilities. Her resilience shines through her work and personal life, especially after overcoming a significant personal tragedy. And I'm sure she'll share that with us if she's comfortable, guys. This experience inspired her to write her first children's book, aiming to offer hope and encouragement to others facing loss. Now, her journey is grounded in her faith. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, serving as a continual source of strength as she embraces her new role as an author. Camisha is eager to connect with audiences around the globe, sharing messages of hope and resilience. Now, we are going to talk to Miss Camisha Williams. Miss Williams, how are you this afternoon?
Hello, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, listen, it's our distinct pleasure. And anytime we have a beautiful Nubian sister that takes that seat, it's always a pleasure.
Yes, yes.
So listen, as we talk about being a grief advocate, many times we know that people go through life and we have unfortunate occurrences. Will you share with us about being a grief advocate, what actually got you started, what keeps you interested, and what keeps you going?
Yes, sure, no problem. Uh, so, um, in 1998, I was married to my first husband, and then we had our first child in 2001. And my husband tragically passed away in 2008. So my son was about 6 years old at the time.
Please allow me to offer you my condolences.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, and so, of course, it was just me and him left alone. And so we had to get through that process of not having my husband there, not having his dad there, and um, and just get through that process together. And at the time, of course, me and my son, we would always go to the bookstore or order all kind of books on different topics. Anything that was going on in our life, we would just bring them home and we would just read together. I would read to him. And of course, he was learning at the time, so he would read and sound out words to me. And like I said, we would do this on every topic, any topic we can find in the bookstore. We would bring that home. And when we went through this tragedy, I was trying to look for a book that we could bring home and kind of go through together and talk about what has happened and how you're supposed to, press on with life and, go through the process. And I couldn't find anything that was relatable to our situation. and characters that could identify with us. And so in that small voice, I heard, you go ahead and create a book. And so I say all of that to say 13 years later, here I am with a book that I have created. And it has been inspired by our personal tragedy. So, yeah, that's how it all started.
Now, starting with the personal tragedy, and allow me again to offer my second condolences to you in the loss of your husband. When you were experienced that loss, were there others that were sympathetic, empathetic, or maybe there may have been some that just acted as if you were supposed to be okay and you were supposed to get over it? And I asked that question because many times there's so many situations where we have individuals that will not be empathetic and sympathetic and just say to people, well, you know, it happens to everybody, you should just get over it. Can you share those experiences with us, please?
Yeah. So at the time of his death, we were living in Northern Virginia. So I was in the Virginia, DC, Maryland area. And of course, I'm originally from Miami, Florida. So I did not necessarily have family there. Most of my family was in Miami. However, I did have a church family. So I had connections there. And I was able to lean on my church family, and they were able to pour into me and my son during those times. Yes, of course, you have people that will say, hey, it's about time for you to get over this. However, grief is not the same for everyone, right? Some people can get over it quicker than others, and sometimes it takes a longer process for others to get through it. So, yes, I've had people say, oh, you should be over it by now. And yes, that's hurtful at the time. But like I said, I had more support from my church family and friends that surrounded us with love, encouragement, and the different things that you need while you're going through this. So I didn't dwell on the negativity, although I did experience it, but we just moved forward with all of the love and support that we did receive from our church family. And that's how we were able to get through.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, obviously, church is very important to those of us that believe in a supreme being, that being God. However, being away from your family and having your church family there, the immediate family, did you have many to reach out, to make telephone calls, or to, like what happens to most of us when we lose loved ones? The calls start to fade after the funeral, after a week or two, a month. Uh, did you experience a lot of that from church and family, or was it a constant stream of having that shoulder until they recognized that you were getting stronger in your grieving period?
Yeah, what was so good is although I did have people that were negative, I had the positives outweighed that negativity. So I didn't I didn't have much of the non-support. Like my family that was in Miami, they would still reach out to me. My mother, she lived in Miami. She would make sure that she would come and visit, and she was able to maybe watch my son if I needed a breather. Because sometimes as parents, as you're going through this, of course you have to stay strong for your child. And so you have to make sure that you're okay too before you attend to your child. So my mother was instrumental in coming and being there for me. My sister, actually, I said I didn't have any family. My sister, when she graduated from college, she came to live in that area. So she actually lived there as well. And so I leaned on her as well during that time. So yeah, I had support, and I realized that some people don't have support. And I know it can be difficult during those times, but I would say find someone that you can connect with, because connection helps through the grieving process.
No, that's an interesting point that you share that. And I want to ask, when you are talking about the obviously the love and the outpouring of family and of your church family, was there ever a feeling of guilt from those when personal feeling of guilt when the naysayers would say, "Oh, well, you should get over that," and that kind of thing, even though you were still trying to work through that? Did that ever get to the point, just within your own psyche, as to feel somewhat guilty because you were still maybe somewhat in the moment of grieving? And as we know, whether people like to admit it or not, in death is a continual grieving, even though we move and we grow. So,
Yeah.
did you ever feel, because of what people were saying, any, how can I say, trepidations about feeling as strongly as you were feeling at the time, as to the grieving process?
So grief, like I said, it's not a one size fit all, right? So when you're going through that grieving process, of course, there's so many things that happens. Your mind is just blown thinking of different things like depression, right? Uh, denial. Denial was my first thing. I can't believe this is happening. This can't really be happening. I need to see, I need to make sure. I know he's going to call me. I know he's going to be there, not knowing what to do. Then you kind of feel angry or guilty. Like, is there something that I could have done, to resolve this before this happened? So you go through so many different emotions. Did I didn't take it on. I tried to stay away from the negativity, or if I did feel guilty about a certain situation, I honestly, my faith, praying through that thing, making the situation, turning it positive in my favor. That's kind of where I stayed. I didn't let the negativity sink in. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, because it did happen. Like I said, you kind of get into a lull, but you don't stay there, right? You get into that pity party. You get into the feeling guilty, feeling depressed, not wanting to go on and function. But I just didn't let it stay there. And I did a lot of communication. Like I said, that connection and that communication. When I felt like that, I would talk to somebody. Hey, let's talk about this. Let me tell you how I'm feeling today. I really miss him. I feel bad for my son. You got to have that communication. So I think realizing that you need to communicate with others about your feelings, how you're feeling, being honest, having that listening ear is so helpful in the grieving process.
Wonderful. Perfect segue. With your son. Now, from what you're sharing, I did not ask, and please allow me to ask now. Was your son still an infant when you lost your husband?
My son was 6 years old at the time.
Six, okay.
Yeah.
So might I ask, throughout that process, you've shared with us already that you would get some relief time from your parents and your mom and that kind of thing. How was your son processing all of this? Because whether people like to ask honest questions or not, we do on the Nobody Ask Me Guy show, and we understand fully that we, and I mean the universal we, and you've already said it, we try to put everybody in one box. So with you and your son transitioning through the loss of your spouse and of his dad and the grief process, how was he processing this information? Uh, I would say over a span of 1 year, 2 years. How was
Yeah,
he processing that as you were trying to get your strength back as well?
yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of times when somebody passes away, of course, it's hard for adults to even go through this process. And most times we kind of forget about the children, right? Our main focus is, okay, this situation happened, we got to go through the funeral and everything, but you don't even think about the children and their feelings. And so I'm glad that you're asking this. With my son, I kept an open communication. Like, we talked about it. When I had to share, that was one of the hardest things that I had to do, was share with him, of course, that his father passed. And then we embraced and we cried together. I wanted him to show that it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to cry about this. I wanted him to feel comfortable with that, right? I wanted him to have that open communication. Whenever he wanted to talk about him, it was okay to come and talk to me about it. We would share pictures. We would go through pictures and just look at it, talk about the memory. You remember when you did that? Yes, we would talk about it, make him feel comfortable about it. I would also normalize our days. You know, I I made sure to continue to do things that we used to do. If we used to go out to the movies, we would still do that. If we used to go out to dinner for ice cream, all of that, we would still do that. Um, and then also, of course, on his birthday or special occasions, we still talk about him. Hey, today's your dad's birthday. We think about him. Um, the memories, like I said, we would always pull out pictures and just talk about the times. I'm all about cherishing those memories, right? Because you never know when death is going to occur. So just cherishing those memories. But I think that open communication and just me showing him that it's okay to cry, it's okay to talk about him. We do miss him. Yeah, those are some of the things. And just listening. Like, I would just listen. What do you got to say? How you feeling? I would always talk to him. How you feeling today? If I saw something that was off, let's talk. How you feeling? So yeah, that open communication and just listening, trying to get a better understanding of where he was in his head. I wanted to address it head on, because I realized, not for him, but for others that I have encountered, a lot of people try to suppress their feelings, right? That leads to trauma that's not addressed. Even in your adulthood, you can take that into adulthood. And so I wanted to get ahead of that. And so this is the reason for the book, just so you can have that healthy conversation with a child on their level. It's like an introduction.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen, wonderful. And I didn't caution you, but when you see me looking here, I'm looking at the monitor and the hearts and the tear. Wow, the tears are just flooding the screen. The tears and the hearts and the thumbs are going up out to you. as you are processing that, when your son, he's with mom is interacting just as she would if dad were here. Now we know sometimes being a hard-headed male myself and having this machismo and all of this kind of thing. And you mentioned a key word, suppression. As he continued to grow and not have his father there, did you notice any depression? Did you notice any apprehension to talk about his dad, or did he show his emotions much, or was he basically trying to be the man? And that's another thing you and I are going to talk about after the show. I have a book called Mothers in Their Smin, and that's one of the main things I talk about as far as boys being pressed into manhood before they learn how to be boys. And
Yeah.
sometimes we just feel like everybody say that you the man of the house now, etc. So I'm asking that question. I'm prefacing that because that has to be a tragedy anytime we lose a loved one, not let alone mom losing her husband, me losing my dad. Did you notice as he started to get older, him uh, gaining strength or suppressing maybe some of the feelings he may have had lingering from the loss of his dad?
I would say that I saw him gaining strength, right? Um, because like I said, I had that connection with that church family. So within my church, of course, we had men of the church, right? And so those men stepped up to be that figure that could be there for my son. So, like I said, they would invite him out. They would be there for him if there was something that he needed to learn. They were there to teach him as he was going through this process. So I used the people from my church to lean on during this time. So those men stepped up in the church and they were there to be that mentor and to be that figure. So although it wasn't his dad, I believe that that helped him realize that, hey, these are manly things that I need to learn or I need to see um, because I am a boy and I want to exemplify that, that character, that demeanor, how to handle situations. So I leaned on those men that were in my life so that they could be a father figure for my son or a male figure. Yes. My son is 23 years old now.
Okay.
So it's truly a blessing to see that he didn't give up on life and that I'm just offering hope to others to know that you can move forward even after a tragedy. So,
Great. So listen, let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the title of that book. And obviously, we can't tell our audience what's in the book, and then because we need them to buy the book. But can you give them a little teaser? Tell them about the book and the title of the book, and give us a little teaser.
yes. Okay. So, my book is it's entitled Life's Endings Bring New Beginnings. And this book is following a young boy who has lost some things in his life. And this book goes through that process for him and his family. It shows emotions, it shows love, it shows that it's okay to cry. It shows that there is life after death, even though it's hurtful and there's pain there. You're still here for a purpose, and that gives you hope to fulfill your purpose on earth. So and it's relatable for children that are between 5 and about 9 years old. It's kind of a starting conversation. Like, this is a difficult conversation to talk about, but it's needed, right? So this book will start that conversation. You read it together, then you can talk about it. Hey, let's talk about life. Let's talk about death, because it does happen. And you can't escape it. So, yeah, that's what that book is about.
Fantastic. Well, listen, give us, please, any closing remarks you'd like to share. Once you've done that, please tell us again the name of the book, where they might purchase the book, and how they might contact you.
Okay. All right. So I just want to leave with you. I'm so honored, first of all, to be here. So I thank you for the opportunity. And I would leave with the audience that as you're going through the grieving process, just know that it's different for everyone. And I would just encourage you, I call these the 3 C's, for you to choose each day. Each day you're given a new day for something fresh, a new start. Choose each day to look at things differently. Yes, the trauma has happened and the tragedy has occurred, but choose each day to look at another opportunity of life and find your purpose. Then my other C is communication. And I would say that's important because we have to talk about how we're feeling. We don't want to keep that your feelings bottled up. Like I said, that those bottled up feelings will grow with you into adulthood. And so we want to get that out and speak to loved ones, even if you have to go to therapy or a counselor or anything. Feel free. Don't be ashamed of it. You go and communicate to someone. I feel that that's important. And then the last one is connection. Find people that you can connect with. Like I said, for me, it was my church family, and then of course my family that were some were not close, but just family. Finding that connection so they can so you can lean on them when you're weak. So those are the 3 C's that I would leave for you. The title of my book is Life's Endings Bring New Beginnings, and you can find that at my website. It's CamishaWilliams.com, and that's CAMISHA Williams.com. And you can reach out to me through email. My email is CamishaMWilliams@yahoo.com.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, Kevin is saying, and okay, Kevin put me a precursor. He's saying she may not want to talk about answer this, but Kevin is saying, my father is not deceased, but he's been incarcerated for quite a long time, and I feel as though he's deceased. So I'm having my own grief. What suggestions can you give me? And he did the precursor saying this may not be something you want to answer.
Okay. Does he? So I would say to him, is he in communication with him? I know that he feels as though he's gone, and of course, he's not there to have that constant communication with him. But if he is able to communicate with him somehow, I think that will be helpful because he may want to tell you how much he cares about you, how much he loves you, but if you're not communicating, you wouldn't know that, and then you would feel as though he's not there. I think that maybe if you can communicate with him, I think that would help in the process. And I think that you should talk to an authority figure in your life and let them know how you're feeling, so that they can discuss this with you one-on-one. And I pray that you guys are able to communicate. Yeah.
Ms. Camisha, we don't want to keep you here all night. It's been wonderful. We want to make sure that we help you promote that book. We are happy that you have grown and you're continuing to grow through that grief. We'll thank you again for being here, and we're happy that you're here. We're going to fantastic. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know how we do. This has been the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. And Kevin, we appreciate that question. Ms. Williams appreciates that question as well. And I saw you telling her thank you, and you sent a heart up. So I'm sure she's been helpful. And to you other guys. So guys, listen, I see we have a few new people. Listen, this is the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. As always, like our publication on YouTube. It's called the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. Go to YouTube, like, and subscribe. And hey, guys, we don't charge a dime to subscribe. We know everybody tell you things that they say, go to my place and subscribe, and then they ask you for money. We don't ask you for a dime. So please feel free to go to the Nobody Asked Me Guy show on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Recommend it to your friends. Take a few minutes to look at a few of our clips, and you will see that we have some very exciting guests. But most importantly, you know what you'll see? You will see real life. We don't do gossip. We don't waste our time talking about people and that kind of thing. We always share very diligently with individuals, but we have enough time keeping our own self straight. So we certainly don't have time to be gossiping about someone else. So guys, this has been the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. Again, go to YouTube, like, and subscribe to our channel. Tell your friends, and hey, tell a neighbor. Ms. Williams, it's been great. Love having you here. Have a great and blessed night.
Thank you. Thank you so much.